Fire Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Size Up podcast by National Fire Radio, because what you do off the job matters. I kind of sing-song that one a little bit this time. Like, I wanted to change it up and change the inflections a little bit, because Jeremy always makes fun of me anyway. They all make fun of me and what I say in my opening line. So, I mean, but they wouldn't be firefighters if they weren't making fun of me. And it kind of means maybe they like me / love me / hate me. But all of those things I'm okay with at this point, right? Like at 40, I know I always look up in the sky too if you watch, but like 47, like love me, hate me, like me, don't want to be around me, whatever, man. Maybe I got no time for that. Maybe I do, because it does still hurt when someone doesn't like you, but whatever. That's me talking about me. Quick shout out to my last guest, Allison, again, and to everyone that reached out to me in these past few weeks since I put that episode out, where I was a little emotional or a lot emotional, let's say, about losing my friend. But having, again, all of you, whether I've known you for 30 years and you reached out, or I don't even know who you are and you sent that message that I had to go digging into the requests part because we're not friends on social media. Just kind of reaching out about what I had said about Double D, about being honest with my emotions, and even to folks who reached out who knew Dave through extrication and through that world, and were like, "Holy cow, there's a connection I didn't know was going to happen." And yes, someone did reach out to say, "Holy cow, I always thought that was you." Actually, it was "Holy shit. I always thought that was you in the extrication videos." And then you said that, and that was you in those extrication videos. So again, a huge thanks to all of you. One more huge thank you, because I'm rocking the shirt, if you're watching on YouTube, to my man Lenny at Notorious Fire Company. Check him out, follow him, all the cool stuff he's doing. He also helps provide my guest gifts after they're on the episode. And to my past guests who are listening, you may not have gotten one in a while, because maybe Lenny and I's firefighter ADD kind of took off and we forgot to update all the forums that we do and how this happens. But he is working on them now, so they'll be coming out to you soon. So check him out. Lenny, I need some new gear. As much as the Biggie shirt is one of my favorites of all times, it's time to get us updated here. So check out Lenny, Notorious Fire, and a huge supporter of the podcast, and just an all-around great dude. If you need shirts made, he's doing that kind of stuff. Tumblers, I have other Lenny stuff floating around here, but it would be weird to grab it or so. Oh, did that have a curse word on it, Janelle? Okay,
No.
I was just curious as that went. Not everyone watches on YouTube, but let's get to my guest today. And another huge thank you to, this is a very coincidental, Allison and now Janelle both kind of came to me as guests from the same person. So huge shout out to Rick, FDNY CrossFit, my man. We're going to hang out this summer when I'm in the city for a little bit, also with Allison. Janelle, you're more than welcome to fly up to the city. I know you live pretty far away, or not too far away, but enough. We're definitely all going to get together, so that will be fun, and maybe we'll record. But my guest today has a great story, has a great, I guess maybe it started as a side hustle, we'll find out, but definitely a hustle that goes along with the fire service. Janelle from Burn Bags USA, how are you today?
Great. I'm excited to be here.
You should be great, because you just came back from vacation, right? And I
did.
knew this is a delay.
Yep. I just got off a cruise ship. It's my favorite thing to do, other than normal life. My favorite vacation by far is cruising.
It's a great way to just get away. Like, my wife and I are big fans of cruising. So are the boys, because they've been on a cruise now, maybe 2 cruises. It's hard to remember, but I just love that fact that you get to see different places and your room never moves, and you technically never move, right?
Yeah, and so many activities for the kids. When we're on a cruise, I say choose your happy. If you're not having fun and happy, that's on you, because there are so many things to do. You just choose your happy.
Which is true, and they have all those different things to do. And I feel like, when my boys were younger and we went on the Disney cruise, and it was like, we're gonna not be with them on this vacation-y thing. And you have to kind of look back and be like, where are they gonna go? They're on a boat. Like, we're only within walking distance of them, right? It's not like you're leaving your kids home alone and you're going to drive to dinner 30 minutes away. If there's a problem, you're 30 minutes away. You're on a boat. You're 5 minutes from them at any time, right?
Yeah. Yep. So we had a great time. It was cool. It was our first one without the kids. So I did kind of wish they were. I wish they were with us. It was a
Stop,
little hard.
stop.
I did.
Come on.
But it was big. It was our 25th wedding anniversary, so we did the cruise, and it was nice time alone. But I did miss them. Yeah.
Oh, that's see. All right, well, I'm a bad dad then. I'm just gonna say I'm a bad parent. I do not miss them when they're not with
I
us
don't think my
for
husband would say
vacation.
he missed them, but I did. Yeah.
Well, so wait. So wait, maybe we can tie this together better to make me not look like a total douchebag.
Okay.
Right? Like there's always that miss, right? Because you enjoy doing things with your kids when you're with them and things. So you're always going to kind of think about them. You can also flip that to be like, it's so nice to not have to worry about them or have them here right at this moment, right?
But mine are older now, so I don't worry about them. They bring the party.
Oh, so it's a totally different reason then.
Yes. Now the old 11, 17, and 20. So the 17 and 20, they bring the party. They make us laugh. They're a good time. So it's different. I don't have to care for them anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm there too. Where I mean, mine now are they don't want to hang out with us. 15 and 12, they're kind of like doing their own thing anyway. But when I think about and either of them, but like you're at that 20 age where it's just about to flip to that 21 age, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm with my kid in the bar. That's a whole different world. Talk about bringing the party and such, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it was a good time.
Good. And that's what matters too, right? I feel like in life, my wife is a big fan of saying like take the trip because we've taken some pretty epic trips in our history
Hmm.
now. And any one of those trips, and it's take the trip and people are like, "Oh, well that means Australia." And I'm like, "That doesn't mean Australia." The Poconos are maybe an hour and a half from us. Just a weekend in the a weekend in the Poconos is a take the trip weekend because it's vacation, right? It's getting away and
Right.
doing things and experiencing it.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. But I do say the
And,
trip, everything is a trip. A cruise is the only thing I feel is truly a vacation for mom. Everything else is a trip and it's work, but not a cruise. A cruise, I get to enjoy myself and it's great.
oh, come on. Like every meal is cooked for you. You throw your towel on the floor and you come back and it's a dolphin on your bed. Like you're like, there was a comedian that had talked about when I was on a cruise was talking about that. Like, he's like, I go home after working these cruise ships for like 3 weeks. And he's like, I come back and my towel is still on the bathroom floor. I'm so sad.
Right. Right. And I don't have to make them happy. They go do things that make them happy. So I don't know. But I do say a cruise is the only thing that I have found that's a vacation for mom and not a trip for mom because a trip is still work. Yeah.
That is true. There is
Yeah.
some work that goes into the trip. So those are the benefits to it. And you hear people talk like negatively about cruising, and hey, that's your opinion. But I feel like a lot of the folks that do talk negatively about it just have never actually been on a cruise. They just hear things
Hmm.
or they just think it's one certain way. Like, oh, that room is so small. Sure, don't spend any time in your room. Oh, there's no
Right.
loungers at the pool. Well, you could find a chair somewhere. You just got to maybe look a little harder.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And the food is amazing. I'm not going to deny that either.
The desserts. I go for the desserts.
Which
Yeah.
again aren't a thing that like so I do most of the cooking in our house just because of my wife's schedule and because I like to cook, but I'm not making dessert. Like we may go out and get ice cream or like if we're out to eat one night, even when you're out to eat, you're not necessarily getting dessert. But cruise,
Right.
I'm like 3 desserts, sir. I'll just have the menu of
Absolutely.
desserts.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
But I do know you're into CrossFit. That was, I guess, how you met Rick was through CrossFit Medical, which is another interesting tie-in we have because I did it way back in the day.
Oh, did
Um,
you?
I did. Yeah, I did Northeast Regionals twice on med staff. Um, when it was in, oh God, when it was in Hartford, Connecticut, and when it was in Albany, when it made the move to the Albany. We're maybe talking like 10 years ago now. This was early on. In the days of it. Very different now. And then I was actually supposed to do it at the games, but then Assault uh, hired me to work their booth. It's like, hey, I love med staff, but working the Assault booth is going to be a little less stressful and more fun. So
Yeah. Cool. I didn't know you did that. That's awesome.
yeah, way back in the day, I still have my red shirt. But my point being, to this, we could talk about CrossFit Med all day too. But the portions on a cruise, even though you get as much food as you want, the portions you get are very what I like to call human size, as opposed to
Hmm.
this like extravagant, like, oh my God, I have to eat this humongous piece of chocolate cake.
Yeah. So you don't feel bad ordering three of them.
Not at all. I never, well, I mean, I really don't feel bad ordering three desserts anywhere, but it makes you feel a little bit better to know that you only have a smaller piece of chocolate cake, three of them instead of.
Yeah. Yep.
So good. Well, vacations are fun. CrossFit Med is fun. So I mentioned that, for the folks out there that don't know. And again, it's probably changed a lot since I've been involved in it. But Doc Rocket has been a guest on the podcast before,
Hmm.
and a good friend of mine and my wife's, who I met through CrossFit Med staff. But for the folks who don't know, when CrossFit has larger events like the games or regionals or however the larger competition scale goes, they have a medical staff on duty that encompasses EMTs all the way up to physicians, emergency medical physicians, ortho, orthopods, I guess it would be, like
Hmm.
Doc Rocket is. And they're there just to care for the athletes. And it's a pretty cool thing to be involved in if you get a chance to ever do it, because you see a different side of the athlete and the people competing, and you get to do what you kind of like to do, EMS or doctoring or nursing or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. I say we have a whole scope of people, everything from EMT, paramedic, up to, like you mentioned, the doctors and the physical therapists, and um, every different people are needed in different places. So some people work the clinic, some people are on the floor, some people are doing ultrasounds and X-rays. Some people are doing giving stitches. Like we have all kinds of needs. So we have all different levels of care that we are ready to give at the big events.
Yeah, and it's a background that no one ever really thinks about most sporting events. Sometimes you see it, obviously, more recently in the media. There was the NFL player who went into cardiac arrest
Hmm.
during a game, which highlighted the entire sporting industry's medical staff and EMS staff as well, just in general, because it was such a high profile event. Whereas even when
Yeah,
I was
Buffalo
doing
Bills.
CrossFit, yeah, when I was doing CrossFit
Hmm.
Med, nobody even knew it existed. I didn't know it existed. I stumbled upon them at a CrossFit event and was just trying to promote 555 fitness at the time and figured, they're probably EMTs or paramedics. Let me go talk to them. And that led me down a whole rabbit hole of getting involved in this thing. But it's things you don't think about. And I think the other thing, too, to point out about the CrossFit Med staff folks is they're all CrossFitters or fitnessy type people. Where you don't necessarily see that. The folks who are working the Buffalo Bills game at EMS are not former football players or current football players, whereas on the CrossFit end, everybody is.
Right. Yep. And we all love the event and would want to be there watching anyway. So it's so super cool to get to be on the floor right there by the athletes that I follow on Instagram daily, and follow their career, and then I get to be down there helping them. So that is one thing that my daughter's 20 and she does it with me. And so we travel all over the world doing the events, and it is great quality time with her. She's in college and does it online. So that gives us the opportunity to travel. So we do events in Europe and in the United States, and we go back and forth, and it is so fun.
Wow, you guys are like Harsey. I shouldn't have got out when I did because I didn't know there was like traveling to Europe involved in this type
Oh,
of
yeah,
thing.
like we do fitness festivals in Madrid. We're going to Copenhagen here coming up with the World Fitness Project. Um, So there's opportunities to do it all over. A lot of people do Rogue, and that's overseas now. So there's Australia. They're all over. So whatever you want to, as much as you want it, time as you want to invest in it, there's tons of opportunity. And once you get in and meet the people, then you meet those connections, and then you learn who's leading the med team at different events, and can figure out which ones you want to do.
It is definitely all about the convention or the connections. It was funny when I worked for Assault at the games, I knew so many of the med staff people from kind of going to that, but then switching into that. And it became like a thing for like the Assault folks knew, like the first med staff people that came into the booth, the Assault folks who had been at all the things were like, oh my God, what's wrong? Who's hurt here? How did you get called here? And I'm like, no, they're here to see me. And they were like, oh, okay. And it just became a thing that we had a rotation of all my med
Med.
staff friends coming through.
Yeah.
Like the little cart ambulance was parked next to us for like an hour and a half to one day because we were just BSing. I'm like, don't worry, nothing to see here, just us kind of hanging out and catching up because you do make those awesome connections.
And
So with
like you
that
said,
though,
you're going to
too,
go to New York City. My daughter and I went last year and we met up with Rick and his wife, Gigi, and saw a comedy show. So you meet friends, make friends all over the world. That then when you go to those places, you meet up with them.
which is even cooler, right? And it did. I will say, going back to 555 talk and the not for profit, like it did help propel 555 in a lot of different ways by being able to meet a lot of sponsors in the fitness world, almost like Assault. I happened to stumble upon them in a different way, but so many folks that I was able to kind of get that message out there to the non-emergency services fitness folks to kind of say like, hey, don't forget about us. We're in the emergency services, but this is important for us too.
Yeah.
So what are you and your daughter's like medicine type level?
EMT. So I'm firefighter. I have my, for me, it's EMT. She's BLS. Um, what I always say though is there's so many different needs within the medical team that perfect example for the Buffalo Bills game is on the floor. They need people that are ready to do CPR and first aid, like that emergency medicine. So you just need your CPR first aid to be ready to do that first step. Now, once we get them off the field, and we have definitely had patients go unconscious. Last year, we had an event where we had 2 heats back to back, people go unconscious. Once you get them off the floor, then you have your doctors and your upper levels of training that are going to handle them. But the first response, the immediate first people there are your EMTs, your first aid, CPR, BLS needs to get there immediately.
And that's such a huge thing for event medicine, right? Because sure, we need doctors. The NFL, they have a doctor at every game. I've worked at Rutgers University in EMS, and even in the CrossFit level. But I remember early on in the med team, we were at an event, and there were only, I think, out of like let's say the 15 of us that were there, maybe 4 of us that were only pre-hospital care providers,
Mm-hmm.
and all the other folks, sure, they were CPR trained and they were nurses or doctors and they did CPR in a hospital and all these things, but they never worked in a field. They never knew what it was
Yeah.
like to have the audience staring at you and what are you going to do here to make this better rapidly? Or, like my wife will say, because she works in the hospital environment, although she came from the pre-hospital environment, you call a code in the hospital, or even as a paramedic student, I was on the code team when you're doing your hospital time and you show up and there's like 80 people. Meanwhile, you're on an ambulance and it's you and your partner, and that's it. So there's a big difference in that pre-hospital care versus like in-hospital care and med staff care. And that's where the EMTs and paramedics and BLS folks jump right into that.
Yeah, that's where I think it's natural and we don't panic. Like we just go into action. And I think um, the nurses or the doctors that work in the hospital, they don't see that on a regular basis. So I'm not saying they would panic. I'm just saying because the EMTs, the
Sure, you're
paramedics,
more used to it. Yeah.
you're used to it, so you just roll with it. And like that event where we had 2 people back to back unconscious, like we weren't panicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's it. It's what you do. I mean, I was at an event, not one CrossFit Med event, but I was at a fitness event and I literally watched the person go unconscious in front of me and hit the ground. I was over a metal railing before anyone else in my booth, who were all firefighter, paramedics, or EMTs or nurses, even knew what was happening because I saw it happen. And they were like, and then you're doing CPR. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's just how it goes. But we all jumped
Right.
right in and were able to do our jobs like it was nothing. And that speaks to that kind of pre-hospital care provider in us.
Yeah, and I think I can think of one time where on that corner of the floor where someone went unconscious, it was a physical therapist, and they have all the certifications, but the physical therapist wasn't doing CPR on someone. We didn't have to do CPR on that particular person. She was still breathing, but she was unconscious. But um, they're not as likely to go straight to check a pulse as an EMT. You know what I mean? So that's where
100%.
it takes all different levels and to be on the med team, and there's a need and a place for everybody. And my favorite part is being on there, right there on the floor with the athletes watching to respond quickly when someone goes down.
One last CrossFit story, so everyone that hates CrossFit doesn't just turn the podcast off. But so I work the med staff at these events. I've been that person on the floor, ready to go, whatever it takes. No big deal. A little earpiece in, the vest on, all that kind of stuff that you have when you get to be that guy. Um, one year I worked for Assault at one of the regionals, and it was the finals, and the Assault bike was in, but all the Assault people, there was like a storm coming. So all of like the real Assault full-time employees had to leave to get to the airport before this event started. And they were like, you're the dude. Here's the deal. If a bike goes down during the final event, men's and women's, here's your spare bike. Just run it out there. And then they'll go into it. I was more afraid during those two final heats
of a bike going down than an athlete going down.
of a computer error happening. Then it's like I'm the guy, and everyone's gonna see that this bike went down, and they're all gonna look at me like their bike sucks. And I'm like, most lowest Assault employee in the world, just work events, just here because I have a mohawk and I like to talk. I get people in the booth, like, please don't. I was so afraid, Janelle. It was worse than like your first ambulance call that you ever had.
Yeah, but not nervous if an athlete went down because you knew how to handle that.
100%. I got that one down. Let's go.
Yeah.
Not my first day seeing that one happen. But yeah, one of those bikes broke. I was so afraid. It's funny because I have a picture. No, not at all. Like that would be like the hardest thing. Come on, those things are like the hardest. It was really just the monitor that mattered. If the monitor went down, but obviously we checked them and fresh batteries because you're at a big event. But I have like a selfie of me with all of them behind it, with just like the fear in my eyes. Like, please, nothing happened today. And they're all like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'm like, you guys, you have way too much faith in everything. But it was those were great times in my life, like for sure. Just doing all that stuff and still being friends with some of the med staff people that, they listen to the podcast. So shout out to my med staff people. And yours.
Yes.
So we're here to talk about a lot of different things, but you do have this pretty cool company that we're definitely going to get into. But what made you go into this emergency services field? I know it is a little rare that I have someone who's a volunteer on or a former volunteer. Usually it's folks who do this as a career, and that has nothing against volunteers or anything. It's just a matter of how the guests kind of shake out. But what made you think this was the direction you wanted to go in life?
So it's an interesting story. I turned 40 and decided I wanted to become a firefighter. And I looked into the academy that's near us and asked, like, has a 40-year-old woman ever gone through the academy? Because I was like, is this even, maybe this is a ridiculous idea, right? And no 40-year-old women had ever gone through the academy. And so I was I wanted to do it. I wanted to be a firefighter. But I wasn't sure how I wanted to go about it. So I joined as a volunteer at my station, and we have a combination station. There's 3 stations in the department. And it's kind of like the med team where chief says there's a place for everyone. No matter what it is you want to do, how you want to serve, we will find a place for you. And I knew that I didn't want to go paid because I didn't want to do 24-hour shifts. I have 3 kids, had 3 kids at home. I'm 47 now. So I had a 4-year-old, even. And so I needed to be home at night, but I wanted to serve at the fire station. And I have always joked that, all the paid guys, the career guys are always, they say first in, last out. And I have always said last in, first out. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm there to help them. And if I am just handing them tools and refilling their air packs, and that's fine with me. If I'm making them meals while they're fighting a fire and I'm back at the station cooking, that's okay with me too. So I ended up doing a program through the station to get what we call it, getting my black helmet. So it took about a year, and I went that route and quickly learned that it was the med calls that really I loved. I loved the med calls. And so I decided to get my EMT certification, and I did EMT. And what I did, I kind of said I was a full-time volunteer. So I would go in every third day with C shift and come home when the kid, like around dinner time. Sometimes I'd stay the night depending on, what the day had been like, if there were a lot of calls. Um, but I always wanted to be there in the morning to help the kids get ready for school and breakfast and everything. So I, for a long time, volunteered every third day. But like I said, I was fine if I was mopping the bathrooms, cleaning the bathrooms and vacuuming and giving them more downtime. I never needed to be the first one on the nozzle in the fire. Um, of course I did that and it was fun. But it wasn't why I was there. I loved the med calls the most. And so I would always try to get on the squad truck. Plus, as a volunteer, if you respond from home, you're never first on scene, right? So I wanted to be first on scene. And so I would hang out at the station on those third days and take my computer with me. I had started burn bags. And so I would have my computer with me doing my website stuff from the station, but always there ready to jump on the truck as soon as there was a call.
So it's kind of like that, like there's a hat for every head or a shoe for every foot,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's so many jobs in this emergency services field that need to be filled. And when you have the ability to find the one that you like the most and you're able to fill it and it's helpful, no one should be like, get out. You know what I mean? Like
And
there's just like it
yeah,
should never happen because you're doing something, you're helping. And let's be honest, very few people want to volunteer anymore in society. Very few people are even taking the test to be a career firefighter right now or become an EMT anymore. So when we have someone that wants to do this and finds their place, it sounds like your guys were right about it. C shift was the place to be.
um, I know I have strengths and I have weaknesses, and I am not the person that you want to go on the roof and ventilate. Like me on the roof with a chainsaw, I I was trained to do it. I knew how to do it, but I am the last person you want up there with a chainsaw. Other things like I'm happy making peanut butter and jellies for them and refuel. Like I said, doing stuff. But I'm not. I realize we all have strengths and weaknesses, and I am not as strong as these big guys. And when you need a are carrying a 35-foot ladder with somebody, or you need to take a roof ladder up the ladder, like I'm going to struggle and I'm going to be slow on that. I can do it if you need it to be your best person to do that. And I realize my strengths were different from other people's strengths. And so I just don't claim to be as strong and as good as the careers. Like I know they train a lot and they are really good. And as a volunteer, I had to do my training hours, but it wasn't as many as they did. So I knew my strengths and my weaknesses, and I don't claim to be as good as a career, but I was good at cleaning the bathrooms and mopping the floors and making them food and buying them meals with Burn Bag sponsored a lot of meals for them. So I had my strengths and helped where I could and let them be the first in, last out. And like I said, I'm last in, first out.
I do love that saying. And again, like it's not even like you're comparing yourself to them. There's not even a reason to, right? I think what it is for you is, and I'm kind of this way on the tail end of my career. It's that maturity, right? Like you've lived 40 years of life and learned so many things that you're able to accept this and just put that energy out there. And listen, if someone made me like, there's nothing better than walking into the firehouse kitchen at 3 in the afternoon on a shift, regardless of how the day goes. Someone is making a PB&J sandwich, and they just look over and they're like, "You want one?" And I was like, "Let's go." And I do the same thing for someone else if I'm that guy making it. And I love that you said a PB&J because I do love a good afternoon firehouse PB&J. One made for me is even better. But that button question, you use two knives, right?
No, I use one knife and I cut off the crust.
Wait. Okay. Well, the cut off the crust part is a nice mom move, but you put the same peanut butter knife in the jelly, or vice versa.
I do. I've never even considered using a second knife.
Oh, you heathen! Oh my! Did you clean the knife before you do this? You have to clean the
I
knife then
scrape
if you only have one knife.
scrape it on the side of the peanut butter and go in the
But you don't
jelly.
mix. Like there can't be peanut butter in the jelly and jelly in the peanut butter. It can't happen in the jar.
There's also
Horrible.
definitely peanut butter in the marshmallow cream jar for fluffernutters.
Oh my god! Heathen. I can't. I don't know if I want to continue this interview. You can't do that. This has been a firehouse
Okay.
debacle and fight in my whole career. You can't get me. You wouldn't work on my shift. You could be last in, first out,
All
whatever.
right, all right.
It's you
Then
can't
I would use
put
two
that in
knives and make them happy. I would use two knives. I would be okay with compromising on that.
You need to change. Just change your. Just tell
Yeah,
me you're going to change your ways, and we'll move on with the interview. Please, folks. Two knives.
I'll change
Clean
it.
the
I'll
knife.
try it. I'll
Yeah.
try using two knives today.
Thank you. You'll see. It's gonna change your world when you open that jar and you don't see peanut butter in the jelly. Oh, it makes me gross. My kids know.
Yeah, but as a
So
mom,
you did.
no, as a mom, I'm now having to clean two knives, put two in the dishwasher, unload two knives from the dishwasher. So
I understand that, but you can take. So here, I'll give you a tip. It depends how you make your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But sometimes, especially at the firehouse, because I'm super lazy, I just wipe the knife on the bread that doesn't have anything on it, or a part of the bread that doesn't have anything on it, and then I
and
go
then
to
you're
the
gonna
next
put
step.
it back in the drawer. Oh, okay, okay.
No, I'm not going to put it back in the drawer. No, 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 no.
But you're gonna wipe it off on the bread. Yeah. All
And
right.
wipe it off on the bread. But you can't get. There can't be peanut butter in the jelly jar and
Jelly.
jelly in the peanut butter jar. Just
All right. Fair enough.
or fluffernutter or marshmallow fluff. Folks out
Marshmallow
there,
cream.
please
Yep.
weigh in,
Two knives.
comment on this on social media. Let me know. I'm going to do a poll. We're going to do a poll on how many knives you do. I promise. When this comes out, we're going to do. So, all right. So
I
you're
think one
40
knife is
years
gonna
old.
win. I'm 47 now, but I joined when I was 40.
That's 40.
Um,
Decided to do this. Liked medical calls, but then Burn Bags USA jumped into your mind at the same exact
yeah.
time, or how did that?
So no, so I joined, and then the next year, every March we do hose testing. And it's funny when I talk about burn bags to people that aren't fire related because I get so excited talking about fire hose. It's ridiculous.
Hey
But
boy,
maybe you will share the excitement of fire hose. So
no,
every March, we do
no.
hose testing.
I hate
So
host
every year
testing. Go
we do
ahead, keep
hose
going.
testing once a year, right? We do that in March. We got a lot of new hose that year as well that was going into service. So we had a whole pallet, a couple pallets of hose that was going to go to the dump or donated to. I think there had just been a hurricane at the coast, and so some of it was going to the coast to help them pump out water. So I asked my chief if I could take some home and try to make something out of it. I had no specific plan of what I was going to do. I just thought, man, I bet I could make something out of it. So I took some home and I made dog beds and benches and different kinds of things. And then the bags are just what kind of stuck and took off. I think it was unique and nobody else was doing anything like it. And so um, it probably took me the first 2 or 3 years to get the design down. And so I always have known how to sew. My mom was a seamstress, but fire hose, as you can imagine, is a very unique fabric. The fibers, the polyester, it's just not something I'd ever sewn with a fabric, anything like that before. So it was quite a research and development phase of learning how to um, sew and also getting a new machine because I kept breaking needles and nothing could handle it. So that first year after I started burn bags, my husband let me use our family tax returns to buy an industrial machine. So I bought that machine and so it just really kind of took off. It was unique. It's recycled. I made the first 500 bags myself. I mean, if you have questions, or I'll just keep going.
No, you can keep going. I mean, again, it's amazing, like the whole thing too. I can jump back a little bit. Hose testing sucks for my non-firefighter friends that are out there. It means that in your department, you take every piece of hose you have that's on a fire engine on the rack. You have to fill it with water. You pray it does not explode as it sometimes does, which you don't want to happen in a fire. You want it to happen in hose testing, but that creates like danger high because there's whipping things around. My department does it in the fall every year. I've been really fortunate that the past couple of years, I just happened to be on the Chiefs car that day wearing a white shirt. So there's not much I can do to help because I'll get dirty. I can bring you guys lunch or something if you're out there. Sorry, I got to go do paperwork. It's not fun to do. It's just a lot of work, but it does have to get done. And then what happens is the hose that breaks, we find a use for it. And that's kind of where Janelle came in with her idea to turn them into bags, which watching your video online that you talk about your kind of beginnings too and that learning process of it all, I can't even imagine. I think I would be frustrated after the first needle broke. Did that just like up your challenge level?
Well, but I've broken needles lots of times. I've sewn my whole life, so it was no big deal. Take off the needle, put a new one in, and rethread it. So it wasn't a big deal to me. Um, but in the beginning, I tried. So hose. Once you cut it, if you were to cut it longwise, it would just fray like crazy because the fibers are very thick. And I
Yeah,
usually
and
have
they're
to explain
woven.
to people that, yeah, the inner layer and the outer layer. So the inner layer is rubber lined, and I usually explain to people how it's for friction loss. And so I cut off the coupling and then I cut it into 20-inch pieces. And I have an electric knife that I use. I used to use a saw and it was a mess. But as things have progressed, I've learned tools to use and so forth. So I have an electric scissors that I cut it with, a rotary that spins. And then I separate the inner layer from the outer jacket. And I use the inner layer for other things. So like I just made a friend a dog bed. And so the inner layer with the rubber line, that's perfect for dog beds. But the outer layer is what I use for the bags. And it comes in different colors. And people are always so surprised by this. I'm sure you know, but well, unless I know how it was for my department. So different color hose is different places on the truck and have different nozzles on them and are for fighting different types of fires, right? So maybe on the front bumper of one of our trucks, we would have orange line, and I explain how we call hose is a line. So orange line, it's on the front and it has a certain type of nozzle on it. And a lot of times that would be for like a vehicle fire. So when you pull up to a vehicle fire, you're pulling straight up onto it. And so you pull your front bumper line for the vehicle fire. Where if you're pulling up to a house fire, you might pull in front of the house this way. So you're pulling hose off the side of the truck. And so like we have blue line and green line on the sides of the truck, and one will have, let's say, a fog nozzle and one will have a smoothbore nozzle. So I explain how the water just goes like this, like out of a water hose, and then some it goes out. And some of them you can adjust, but how when you're driving up to a fire and the officer is reading the notes about it and telling you. So I was in the back, the firefighter in the back, and they would tell us when we get off, hey, grab the blue line or the green line. So the officers up front figuring out what kind of fire it is and strategizing, I guess you would say, of how we're going to fight this fire. So it tells me what color line to pull. So a lot of times people have no idea and have never noticed that on fire trucks, there are different color hose. So
This
that's
poor
always
person is
fun
like,
to teach to
I
people.
just want to buy your bag. I just want to buy this blue bag. I didn't want to lecture about friction loss and engine company strategy and tactics, man. How much is the bag? I'll leave.
Right. But they're usually like fascinated, or at least they pretend
Sure.
like they are for my sake, that there are different types of nozzles for different types of fires. And it's not just one hose with one nozzle that we pull off and do everything with, right? And then maybe we have apartment packs or different types on top that's another color. So we have orange, yellow, blue, green, white, and they all have different purposes. So when I have bags with different color hose on it, that's why there's different color hose in it. And people will ask, do I dye the hose? And no, that's the color that different departments decide how they're going to color code their hose, and that's what they buy. So that's how I end up with different color hose. So what colors on your trucks?
Geez, now. So I'm a ladder guy now, but now we have red. We have like that whitish gray that's never really white because it's that way. We're really basic with that. We actually color code our nozzle bales. So, more pressure on the blue, more pressure on the red, or something like that. So we don't do the hose one; we do the nozzle bales. But what I do find, and I do find this to be totally true, is most adults' interaction with the fire department is either on a really bad day because they're having an emergency and we come out to help them, or they haven't had that interaction since they were a child because we went to their school to teach them about fire safety or they took a
Mm-hmm.
trip to the firehouse. So when you get talking to adults about, for me, for my career, for you being a volunteer, or what goes on in the fire service, I mean, it's even the difference when people are like, wait, you ride on a fire truck that has no water on it. And I'm like, yeah, we just have a bunch of ladders. Normally the one that has the ladder on it doesn't have water in it. Some do, but most do not.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, well, what do you do if you're at a fire? I stand there and wait for the people with the water to come in, or I do other jobs. I do my other jobs. But just the other day, my shift was out. My company, we were out training with the ladder truck, and a car stopped really abruptly, and I swore the woman said there's a boat on fire down the road. And I was like, a boat? Because we're not really near the water. And then she was like, no, mulch. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, we head over, we call for an engine to see what it is. But if it was a boat, I was like, how embarrassing this would have been with us with full turnout gear, air masks on, and water cans trying to put a fiberglass boat in a parking lot out on fire. I was like, we would have been the laughing stock of society for the week because we're the firemen with no water. But they get really interested. And my point being with this, and I don't even know if you even realize this, but you're educating the public on parts of our profession and what the fire service is that they never even knew they needed. And they got excited over your back because of your excitement and your passion. I mean, you're a hose geek. Don't deny
I
that you're
know.
not. Like,
Yeah.
right? But that's a huge part of society today. 2025 is that educational piece. They want to know. It's just like, why is the fire engine at the supermarket? Well, because we have to pick up our dinner. And then
One of those who thought before, like, why are they driving a fire truck to the grocery store? This is ridiculous. They're wasting it. Like, I was one of those too until I learned
you were
about it.
one of those evil people. Did you also think too that our meals were free? Because so many people think that our meals, we don't pay for our own meals. That's the biggest one I found nationwide. That they can't believe you pay for your own meals.
I guess I had never really thought about that one.
I feel like that's the biggest part when people are like, that's not just like included, like in the day, like there's not just like, you guys use
Yeah.
the department card or whatever. And I'm like, no, we pay. So no, it gets me fed.
Yeah. So I made the first 500 bags, and then, um, let's see, I had put the word out that I was looking for a seamstress to help me, and I totally stumbled upon what ended up has become the mission of burn bags. There is a local recovery program in our town. So we're in a town of about 12,000 people, and um, it's a local recovery program for women coming out of prison or addiction or abusive relationships. And there was a lady, so it's a 12-month program, and then they graduate from that and they go into like they call a discipleship program. So there's two houses next door where they can kind of like what's it called when you in between house? What's that called?
Halfway house, I think. I think
Halfway
they're still
house.
called
There we go.
halfway house.
Yeah. Where they can start getting a job and getting their any fines, getting their driver's license back, getting their life back on their feet. And there was a lady that had just graduated from the 12-month program that used to sew. So I hired her and she came and helped. And that ended up being the beginning of the mission for Burn Bags. So I only hire women out of that program and they come work for me. Sometimes there's only one at a time and sometimes there's 3 or 4 at a time. Just depends how many have graduated and need a job. And it's a mile from my house, so I take them, pick them up in the morning, take them back until they get their driver's license or get a vehicle. And so now those are the women that run the business with me. And we run it out of my house. I now have a husband and a wife also that sew for me at their house. But it's been pretty cool to just organically that became the mission, and that's what I support. And those are the women that run the business now.
Those are the best, like, America small business stories, right? And now you're like, this is now my mission, because you would think Burn Bag USA, you make them out of fire hose, you would be supporting firefighter charities, or it would just all kind of go in that realm. And I know that you do support firefighters in your local area and things like that. But then you take that mission of the fire service, right? And our mission is to be there for them, not just us as firefighters together, but for the folks in our community. And you were able to just kind of stumble upon such a great thing. And when you talk about addiction and recovery, which again is a huge topic in society and in the emergency services field, but it's not that quick fix. Like everybody wants a quick fix, whether it's fitness, addiction, recovery, mental health awareness, whatever. Like, oh, I'm going to be fixed in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You're talking about a 12-month program and then giving people something after that to continue their recovery or continue their move forward from their life, because there's so many life factors that come into these things. And I'm sure now at this point, you have so many both positive and negative stories from being a part of that have helped you and helped other women. kind of grow from there. It's unreal, like to know that your bag was made by someone, not just you, but someone else that you're helping. I love it.
Yeah, and the numbers aren't always so great for recovery. There's a very high relapse rate. So in the beginning, the women were sewing every bag, but I would spend so much time teaching them how to sew and how to make the bags, and then they would relapse, and um, it was hard. I think there's maybe 3 women that are still sober. But a lot of times they just wouldn't show up for work the next day, and then I would never see from them. They'd never come pick up their belongings. Never hear from them again. So now they do all the prep work. So every single part of the bag is by hand, whether it's the straps or water buffalo. We buy that by the hide, and we cut every strap out. They'll punch the holes in the end of it. Every leather washer that we put on there is punched by hand. So they do all the prep work for the bags. And then we have a husband and a wife who do the sewing now. And then when we get them back, all the tagging and cleaning them and getting all the threads off of them and getting them packed and all the shipping, and then even the social media. So one of the girls, Crystal, she does my social media, helps me with that. And she lives in Georgia now. So I've been able to keep her on. And the women that are with me now, the 2 that I have now, have really made it. They've both been sober for like 3 years. So it's been a
That's
big help.
awesome. That is so awesome. And even too, when you do have, relapses and then people you never see again, but you have those success stories. You have the crystals helping you, and the 2 women doing the sewing now. And that's what matters, right? You're not stopping because, oh, this didn't work out. Or like, I know I watched in your video how you said, I guess you had the hose going vertically and now it goes horizontally because you learned about that, or vice
Right.
versa.
Yep, they were vertically, but the seams were pulling out. And so I had to put them on non-weight bearing seams. So that's why they're in a pocket now. So whereas all the research and design came into play of figuring out how to make it work.
But that's life, right?
Yeah,
Figuring out how to make it work, right? Why I feel like I have to say this every episode, which isn't a bad thing. But like, it's just like the fire service. We're all figuring out how to make this work. I'm figuring out how to make a podcast work every episode that we put out. Whether it's social media, parenting, making bags out of fire hose. And the fact that you
hmm
just keep moving the ball forward. Look, I have no idea how many bags you're selling. I know you're in a few stores and things or whatever it is, and you went on a cruise recently, but I mean, you're doing well and you're making yourself happy, right? But this isn't the
right.
gajillion-dollar business maybe some people think it is, I would assume.
Yeah. So lately, well, I will say it's taken a hit since the election, since November. But I think that's kind of in general with the economy. Um,
Mhm.
Definitely with small businesses, other small business owners I talk to have seen a decrease in sales since November. So Christmas was rough, and sales definitely are not as great as they have been, but it's as good as I want it to be. The Whatever I put in, I get out. So let's say right now my focus might be, so I'm also on city council in my town. So it's been taking a lot more of my time. So I haven't been putting as much time into burn bags, but if I put in the time, I get sales. If I don't put in the time, I have to constantly work it. Um, but I would say it's kind of funny how it's shifted lately from buyers. I say with the economy, I think a lot of small business has gone down, but um, corporate sales have been really funny. They have increased, and so a lot of companies, I've had a lot of big batches where, let's say, True Liant Federal Credit Union wants gifts for their employees, and so orders of like 500, 900, or conventions. Like let's say Christmas time, your fire department wants to buy all the fire gets everyone a gift every year. So instead of buying them another coffee mug with the logo on it, like they are having me make a bag with stuff from their fire department or things
Which is
like that.
cool.
Yeah, a lot of
I don't need
corporate
a plaque.
gifts.
I don't want a
Right.
plaque that tells me I've been here for 5 years or I went on this many calls this year. Give me something like,
Travel
or
pouch for your
another.
toiletries, something
Sure.
different made out of hose from your station. Like that's really cool. I've done some like conventions where they get a goodie bag with stuff in it, or a lot of corporate orders lately is kind of where it's been heading. Um, and so I offer that at a wholesale price. So I don't make as much per item, but I'm making more of them. And at least it keeps the girls employed. It keeps my stitchers employed. It keeps everything rolling. But I have seen a little bit of a switch from individual buyers to corporate gifts.
Well, I think too, I've seen this in a fitness industry that I was in. When you make a really durable product, you don't make repeat customers necessarily because they don't need to replace your product so much, I
Well,
guess
and
is a
something I just did
testament to you,
really
right?
cool. Yeah, it was like a corporate gift idea where I was able to get a banner from the CrossFit Games, and I used that as the lining for toiletry bags. And I sent it to people up high in CrossFit. So let's say, even if you're not a fire station, but you have billboards, and I can make bags out of your billboards when they come down. Or someone just gave me sails from their sailboat to make stuff out of. So I can make things out of all different recycling products. Have to just be fire hose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and that's a totally, again, it's that different, you just keep adapting, just keep moving the ball forward on whatever it
Adapting. That's
is.
big. Yeah.
You know, and I tell people all the time, because, again, being in this field for so long, people will be like, oh, my nephew's becoming about to graduate from the fire academy. What should I get him as a gift? And I'm like, not a stupid fireman statue that he's going to throw away in 5 years. Like a toiletry bag because he's going to be moving stations, or a gear bag to move his turnout gear in, or pillows and a blanket are always a great one because you need those. A lunch bag, a big water bottle, like all these things that are going to be useful. And it's just cool that with your product, you're able to upcycle that. But I think when a lot of folks think of like, oh, she's making bags out of fire hose, they're not going to be stylish. But looking at your website, those toiletry bags are very nice toiletry bags. That messenger bag is no joke. That I would
Hmm.
put up with any messenger bag I've seen in a store.
Yeah, and it's really good quality. We're using that water buffalo, and the hardware is expensive. Like the messenger bag, I pay $30 just for the hardware to put on that bag. Like the buckles are nice, and it's all really good quality. Um, so I try to, and I haven't raised my prices and since I started. So it's been nice. Like I keep it where it is. I make a really solid product. I don't, some people will gripe at the price, but I'll say these aren't bags for the women who buy their purses from Walmart. Like this is not made in China, um, manufactured like that. You know what I mean? Everything, every bit of it is made by hand, and it takes a long time to make them when you're doing it by hand, you know?
I had hoped with all of this, like not to get political again, but like this governmental change and things, that people will also start to realize the cost of goods versus the cost of handmade goods and the quality that you're getting. Because there's nothing wrong with buying something at a great price, that you can use, but there's also a big difference when you get a handcrafted product
Hmm.
that's going to last you. I mean, to say like I can guarantee this, and I'll say this, you don't say this, but that firefighter toiletry bag you make out of hose should last a firefighter their entire career, unless they like somehow light it on fire, which would probably be kind of hard
I've
too
only
because
had
it's hose.
one bag fall apart. Something happened with it. And the lady said she was using it to carry her weights back and forth to the gym. So, yeah, if you use it to carry your weights back and forth, it might fail at some point. But otherwise, that bag is going to last you forever. You know,
I
one of
can
the other
just
great
see,
things.
I can see that customer you interaction of like, so wait, the bag fell apart. Like, what'd you have? Your toothbrush in it, or like, what was in it? Weights. Oh, okay. Bless
Okay,
your
yeah,
heart.
that might have happened. I believe that happened. And then one of the other great things that I do with the bags is every order comes with what I call a giving bag. So it's a like 10 by 16 cotton bag. What I put the burn bag in when I send it, when I ship it. So you wouldn't know, but if you buy an expensive purse, it would come with like a dust bag where when you're not using it, you keep,
Am
you
I?
know what that is?
Excuse me. I have bought Mrs. Pip several expensive purses. She
Okay,
is
okay.
she recently just bought herself a very expensive purse. It was like the family text message with the boys. Should I buy this? Type of a thing. And I'm like, oh my God, you're asking our children to buy the expensive purse. So calm down now.
Came
I
with a
know
dust
that bag
bag.
that it comes in. Yes.
Okay,
I didn't know
okay.
that's what it was called.
So
I just thought it came in a nice bag that probably cost me more money. But go Dust
I
bag.
call it a dust bag to keep the dust off of it, right, when you're not using it. So, but we give a bag with every purchase and has a little card on it, and it asks you to fill it with goodies and drop it off at your local fire station. And it gives ideas of like protein bars, Gatorades, meal ideas. So we ask them, and then people send us pictures of filling it with goodies and dropping it off at their local fire station. So that's another step of giving back and supporting the local firefighters.
That is amazing. Can you add something into that bag for me? Maybe
Okay, what
like
do you want in
into
your
the
bag?
suggestion, like peanut butter
Yes,
and jelly. Can you put peanut butter jelly?
you could. You could put peanut butter and jelly and a loaf of bread in it, and that would be perfect.
That's a nice one. So it's up to you. I'm not saying you have to add that to your suggestion, but it's just an idea. But I love like how did I not know you existed before Rick said, "Hey, check this cool lady out from the CrossFit Med team," because you're doing all these good things, and I want to help you in any way I can, aside from just this episode, to get your name out there. Whatever I can do, you definitely reach out and ask. But right now, give the pitch to everyone. Where do they find you? How do they buy a burn bag? How do they get a corporate sale? Because maybe someone I know is looking for 1,000 bags for something. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. If you need bags for Christmas presents or a convention coming up, and even if it's not, I don't have something available. So everything has wholesale pricing, which is about half of the price that it is on the website. But I'm also open to making unique products in your price range if you need something different than what I offer. But Burn Bags USA online, on Instagram, on Facebook, and just it's all handmade and got a great mission, and we're giving back to the community. And
It's hard when you get put on the spot, but you explained it all so much better before. No one cares at this point. They just didn't hear it's burnbagusa.com or
right.
burnbagusa on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of the social media things that are out there. So I love what you're doing. I just love the way you're supporting everyone, and I'm so happy Rick introduced us because it's a very cool story.
Thank you. I think most people, when they hear it, they love the story. They love that I'm recycling in repurposing and the mission and all of it. The challenge is just getting the word out to everybody. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So
That's
just
the hardest thing.
getting the word out in the podcast would be a good help.
The 5 second attention span of a firefighter and like the 10-second attention span of not a firefighter is the hardest thing to get in. So that's for sure. Cool. Are you ready for the size up 10? This could be a while. I feel like we've talked a lot, so this could be not a short quick size up 10.
All right, go for it.
All right, which one is it for you, beach or mountain?
Beach, always.
Easy. How about, oh, and because you're my age, you're going to get three options for this. Is it a night out, a night in, or kind of like an afternoon out type of a thing? Which one are
Night
you into?
in, night in.
Night in 100%? Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Usually the folks around our age, they say now like the afternoon out. I'm in afternoon out, and then I get the night in after that. So that's my choice. I add that for some folks. Not everybody gets that one. How about a movie everyone needs to see?
A movie everyone needs to see. Well, my favorite is Pretty Woman, but I get it. Not everyone would love it. But I'm going to go
Why
with Pretty
not?
Woman.
You can
Okay.
put, hey, these are your answers. Do not worry about what other people say. But it's an amazing movie. I mean, great performances. Julia Roberts, Richard Gere, like awesome performances, awesome little story type thing. Like, I've seen it. I'm not going to deny I haven't seen it. Come on. All right. Cross country road trip. Who is your celebrity co pilot going to be?
Celebrity co-pilot?
Or somebody famous, somebody you want to spend a ride across the country with in a car that is famous.
I'd pick a politician. I know that might be
Interesting.
boring, but I would want a politician, and I would probably go with Vance.
JD Vance, to have him in the car with you for a
Yep.
ride across the country.
His movie was good. That was a really good movie.
I have not seen that one.
That was a good movie. You should watch that. Yes.
More importantly, no one has picked a politician at all. Usually more people pick
I would
comedians.
totally. Oh no, after being in politics myself, since I'm a politician now, I would definitely pick a politician. You have
There's
no
your reason. 'Cause
idea.
I would
You have
figure
no idea what goes on behind the scenes. Let me tell you, so much more
I can
going on
only
behind the scenes than you would. Yes.
imagine. All right, before we go down this road, because who knows, we're in a totally different podcast. Do you make your bed every day?
Oh, yes. As soon as I get out of it,
Very
feet hit
good.
the ground
That's
and I
again
turn and make the covers.
strong work.
Yep.
How about a book everyone needs to read?
Well, I would say the Bible, but it can be very hard to read. So I don't recommend picking that one up and just reading through it. So I'm going to go with Where the Red Fern Grows.
First time for Where the Red Fern Grows. Second for the Bible, but definitely first time for that one. So, what's the next one? Where are we at? 7. Which one do you take more, the highways or the back? See, I knew that was coming. Sometimes I get them right. Usually not, but sometimes I get them right. I feel like you can just cruise on a back road any given day. Do do you find off topic because I can't stick to any script? Do you find like do you get creative juices when you're out on the back roads or like in a workout? Like is that where you're like, oh, I bet I could turn the fire hose into this? Is that a place where you find that or no?
No, usually I'm looking at the animals. So we have a farm, we have 12 acres, we have a homestead. So we have our own beef and pork and eggs and chicken and bees and honey and sheep. And so I'm probably looking at the cool barns and imagining a barn I would want to build.
Awesome. And
Yep.
then again, you have a homestead, which is kind of a new word for me being from New Jersey. So it's like that's a whole different podcast, but I'm sure it works out
Yep.
really well.
Yes.
How about in all your travels or your travels you're looking forward to, a bucket list place you would like to visit?
Do you know what my only bucket place is? And it's ridiculous that I haven't been there is Nashville.
Really? It's
It's
amazing
the only
there. It's
place
so
that
close to you.
that's the thing. Like I go across the world and on great trips with the med team, and I have still never been to Nashville. I would want to go see the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Grand Ole Opry and all that stuff. And I just haven't made time to do it.
So I've been to Nashville, I think, 4 times now, and I have not been to the Country Music Hall of Fame, the Grand Ole Opry, the Bluebird Cafe. I've seen them all from the outside, but I'm always there for a convention, and it's just never worked out. Like ever.
Yep.
Someday I'm going to go to
I
those
want to see,
places, but
I'd like to see the country music icon, like some of those iconic things in Nashville someday. I could get in my car and go. I just haven't made it a priority.
you'll do it. All right, 2 more questions. This one, most controversial of all. Is it football or football for you?
Football, although I grew up in the Netherlands, so I can see calling it something else. But I moved stateside in 6th grade, but I'm going to still go with football.
You got it. And again,
I see your background with Ted Lasso back there. Great show.
it's my man.
Yep.
Roy Kent is right next to him, too. He's a little bit smaller there, but I got him on the Kent. I love Ted Lasso. Someone recently called it my Barbie doll, and I'm like, he's an action figure. It's Ted Lasso. Like, let's get it right. All right, last question. The best piece of advice you could give to your younger self?
I would do it the same.
I love it.
Yeah. Best piece of advice? Just keep doing what I'm doing. I've lived a
they're the
very
same.
clean life, doing right, keeping right and wrong, and living a good, honest life and working hard. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Good for you.
But
I'll
that's a
take it.
good one. I'll be thinking about that. Yeah.
It's hard. It's one of those retrospective things. See, we talk about, not putting the peanut butter knife into the jelly jar, and we talk about retrospective life things here on the side. So I cover it all in a little bit of an hour of your time.
Yeah. And it'll give me something to think about later when I'm sitting by the pool. What advice would I
Awesome.
give myself? Yep.
Awesome. You can always text it to me and I could put it out there. But I'm still going with
Okay.
Don't Change a Thing because it seems like you got it all going in a very good direction and adapting and rolling with the punches and things. So stick with it. Go with it.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Awesome, Janelle. Well, this has been a great podcast episode. It was great getting to know more about you. And I feel like there's still more to unpack because at the end you're like, I was born in the Netherlands. You left that whole part of your life out too. So there's a whole lot more we can talk about in another episode someday. For everyone listening, check out Burn Bags USA, whether it's on the website or on the social media channels. They'll be linked down in the below comments like everyone does. Huge shout out to our man Rick for hooking us up and seeing what we could do further. I think if you do follow him, whose name I can't think of, but go back and find his episode on social media. There may be like an ambassador code that you could save some money on Janelle's products, but we're not just going to
20%
give
off.
that away.
Yep.
20% off. I'm not just giving that away. You have to go find Rick's episode, FDNY CrossFit, find him, find that. It's a little Easter egg hunt. It's really not hard. Google it. But yeah, 20% off is a huge saving. So that's great because a lot of ambassador codes, I learned this, in the 555 world and all the fitness stuff, are 10% off, which is like usually nothing. So 20% off is a great ambassador code. So go find her there. There you go. If you made it to the end of the podcast, you just save yourself some cash. Thanks for listening. As always, I'm Pip. This is the Size Up by National Fire Radio, where what you do off the job matters.
National Fire Radio.